Hello. Thanks for popping in. I was hoping you'd join us. This is episode 234 Adventures in Pop. I just had to go and quickly check what number we were up to. And my name is Sam Jacobs, and I am going to be discussing a number of tracks from my brand new album, which is coming out next Friday, the 27th of June. It is my seventh album. It's called Might As Well Dance. I mentioned last time that, because I'm quite childish, I just find it amusing to have an album called, Might As Well Dance, Might As Well. It's that kind of, it's a very British kind of shrug and maybe a little bit of whistling through the teeth to say, well, if you feel like that, I suppose, might as well. Which is a very kind of British sentiment. I quite like it. Totally apathetic. I'm here to talk about tracks 4, 5, 6, and if you're really good, we'll go on to track 7 all in one go. I know. Call me generous. We talked about tracks 1 to 3 in the last episode, so let's just pick up at track 4. And track 4 on this album, remember, with a title like Might As Well Dance, the general concept, if there is one, the high ranking strategy that wraps it all up, the narrative, is these songs are a bit more dancey. That's not really a narrative, is it? It's just a bit of an idea. But they are. And actually, I want to say one thing about that. I didn't set out earlier on to say there was no master plan that said, after Strange Alien, album number 6, album number 7 must be a dancey album. Nothing like that. All that happened was an observation, really, that I had made more dancey sort of tracks than usual. And I guess what we could say is I'd been quite enjoying trying different kinds of dance tracks because, there's such a wide range of what we might consider to be called dance. You could have a very varied album of 12 completely different tracks and still sort of call it a dance album. So look, I mean, they're not miles apart, but it's quite a range of, danceable stuff. And possibly even here and there, not very danceable. But let's press on, and you can be the judge of whether this is an album you can dance to from, bar 1 to the very last bit of the last song. Track 4 is Stir the Pot. This came out in November, and there was a little bit of thought behind its timing. I wrote it probably about a year and a half earlier. It was not meant to, in its original form, as I was writing it, it was not meant to be about one Donald Trump. But as I started writing it, I must have been in one of my slightly fixated periods, and it was really clear that I was writing about Donald Trump, even though I was trying not to. And then you have a choice. As a songwriter, you're kind of halfway through the song. It is kind of taking you in a direction that you didn't maybe intend. Choice. Do you push against that and try and rein it in so that your song is doing precisely what you wanted it to do at the moment of conception? Or do you lean into the fact that your song is sort of taking you off in a different direction and allow your song to be in charge? And I did the latter. And I think I normally do the latter. I think if the song is suggesting that it should go in a certain direction, and it's not necessarily what you planned in the first place, I think don't turn against it, because you're lucky that it is suggesting something strongly enough to prick your consciousness. It means that song actually has an identity, and you might as well run with it. You might as well endorse that, underline that identity, because that's a really good selling point. So I would tend to, follow what I imagine are the dictates of the song itself. Anyway, so look, Stir the Pot is undoubtedly 100% about Donald Trump. So therefore, once I'd got it ready, I thought, well, with an election coming up in America, I'd like to release it as near to the actual American election as possible. So I basically came out, I think, 2 days later. So the American election was, early in November, and by the following Friday, out came Stir the Pot. So, that looks like it's a well-planned thing. And it would have been actually just as relevant if he won or lost the election. I wasn't really very bothered. In terms of the song, I was very bothered. But in terms of the song, I wasn't very bothered about whether he won or lost. That didn't matter. As far as it goes in terms of, people's lives, then yes, it kind of does matter quite a lot. And unfortunately, he won. Interesting, I wanted to promote that video, which is explicitly Trumpian. And that was turned down by YouTube. So only very occasionally they decide that my content is too dangerous or too political or both, for them to kind of endorse a promotion of it. They don't mind, they'll allow it to be on YouTube, but they won't allow themselves to be part of the promotion. Now, look, I understand that if we were in the grips of an American election, it's important that they, maybe they don't get involved. I've got no problem with that at all, but we weren't in the grips. One party had already won by the time that came out, so I don't really understand what the nervousness was about. I wasn't about to upend the election by putting out, Simon Jacobs' video. I don't really think so. I don't think the whole American nation was holding its breath and thinking, "Oh my God, don't put that out because suddenly it could snatch the election away." No, don't be ridiculous, please. So I don't understand YouTube's behaviour, but in the meantime, I really enjoyed the song. It is definitely a real kind of disco-y thing. And oh yes, I want to tell you the source of this. I remember playing a Jessie Ware track just for fun. I think she had a new album out. It had more of a kind of a dance feel. I popped it on, and about halfway through the very first track I was listening to, I didn't want to hear any more Jessie Ware. I'd clocked that Jessie Ware was doing something really good, and I wanted to quickly do it myself immediately. So off I went to make a disco record, and the result was Stir the Pot. And just in case you haven't seen it, let me play a little bit of it for you here, and it goes like this. I know the game that you play. You've been doing it day after day. You light the fire and wait till it's hot, 'cause you like to stir the pot. I'm only playing a little bit. I'm not sure if that's going to make it past the adjudicators at YouTube, but let's see. Okay, the fifth single to come out is called Magic Touch. Very different. This one is just... this is fun. This is just kind of slick and poppy, I think. Slightly less danceable. And Magic Touch it's just a pop song. I don't really think it had any significance in its lyrics whatsoever. It's an exercise of putting a pop song together and just, nailing a vibe. And it was fun. I hope we got there. And then I did a video kind of partly, a bit of miming and a bit of playing of the piano to make it, to give a bit of a performance video. And some strange woman pops in to look at her magic ball of the future. Shall I show you that bit? Have a look. Do you know anyone who's discovered buried treasure? These are the kind of things that never happened to me. What can I do? Nothing seems to help me that much. It's easy for you, 'cause you've got the magic touch. What can I say? It's not like I'm really demanding that much. You like it this way, 'cause you've got the magic touch. So So Magic Touch is track 5. Track 6 is called Speed Dating. Now, speed dating, again, I have never speed dated in my life. I think I was at quite some pains to point that out when this came out. We're now talking about, I think the single came out in January 25, so we've turned the corner of the year. Speed dating, I guess the thing to say about this is it's got a bit of a retro vintage sort of soul feel, and I think that's fine. I wouldn't want to do a whole album of retro vintage soul, but just to pop one in every now and again is nice. So yeah, it's just got a bit more of I suppose, yeah, a kind of, I'm trying to go for that kind of 60s Atlantic kind of Stax feel, kind of. Okay, so and speed dating is basically the story of somebody who's not dated for years and years and years and is absolutely terrified of the fact that, you know, he may have met somebody good. That's it. And so the video just concerns itself with me running around in my little bathroom and dressing area, panicking about what to wear and what to spray under my arms. That's the video for you. Have a look.
Speed dating, I can't tell you how long I've been waiting. This ain't the way I normally get my kicks. Looks like I gotta learn a whole new bag of tricks. Getting harder, please open the windows and let in some air. I need a doctor who's gonna give me intensive care.
That brings us to the 7th track from the album. So we're into the kind of the second half, if you like. 7th track on the album is called My Suburban Street. And this is fun. This again, I was really happy with this. I think this popped into my head. I was taking the dog for a walk, I think, one evening. And it was quite late, but the sky was kind of lit up and basically, you know, I'm walking through the suburbs and everything kind of just looked sort of very technicolor and rather beautiful. So I started thinking about, you know, this kind of riff of in my suburban street, you know, what goes on in my suburban street. And I was thinking, okay, you know, I keep harping on about how many foxes there are living here. There was one nesting at the end of my garden just yesterday. Drove the dog crazy. It was a little cub. It's gorgeous, but it's gone now. Anyway, so in my suburban street, I'm sort of listing some of the kind of major preoccupations of what goes on in the suburbs. Foxes, renovating your house, let me see, schoolgirls playing, you know, it's all that kind of thing. It's schoolgirls playing, it's talking to the neighbours, you know, it's keeping the litter tidy and the graffiti, you know, painted over because we don't want any graffiti, do we? And I'm taking the pee a little bit, and at the same time, I hope demonstrating that actually I quite love, you know, the suburbs. Now, actually, it's questionable whether I really live in a suburb now. I grew up in a suburb. That is undoubtedly the case. So northwest London, where I grew up, very, very suburban. And in fact, in this video, I'm driving from my house to my mum's house, which is the area that I grew up in. And you can see just from what I'm videoing from, you know, outside the car, it is deeply suburban. You know, we're talking about, you know, 1930s semi-detached houses disappearing into the distance as far as the eye can see. But where I actually live, I think, is a little bit more urban and a bit less suburban. One of my neighbours, I think, heard this track and was quite indignant about whether I was really, you know, in suburbia at all at the moment, or actually in urbia. There isn't an urbia, is there? Okay, more urban than suburban, anyway. I like the feel of the song. I like the trumpet on this song. It's got a bit of a vibe going, and it goes like this.
In my suburban streets, do it one more
know some of the names of the neighbours I greet, but most of the rest I may never meet. The schoolgirls hanging out with their friends, till Daddy picks them up in the Mercedes Benz. Oh, you might think that life is sweet, but many here struggle to make ends meet. Thank you. Okay, listen, we're going to leave it there. If you haven't subscribed, why don't you consider doing that? It will, look, it doesn't cost anything, and it will just make you a slightly better person. You don't. Okay, no, it won't. Forget about that. But you can still subscribe anyway. It makes me very happy. And I'll be back to talk about tracks 8, 9, and 10. And then when we get to the end of next week, the 27th, when this album comes out, there will be the exciting revelation of 2 brand new tracks. And one of the things I've been doing recently is making videos for those 2 tracks, so they're both kind of in the can and ready. And at the same time, just to let you know, I have been planning and working on things like cover art for the next album, because, time won't stand still. Nobody's going to do it for you. So I'm already kind of into what comes after this. But let's do this first, shall we? Hey, thank you very much indeed for watching, and I'll be back very soon. You take care. Bye-bye.